Assalamu alaikum. I hope you had a good week. Uh, I need to see the entire slide. Should I get rid of this one? Should I?
Sir, I think you can try it. Oh, no,
No,
this happened
no.
last time as well.
Yeah. So let's go there. Yeah. Let's try this one. Preview. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is better. Okay, so we have at least three of you here. Khadija Iqbal, Nameer Ashfaq, and Saeed Rajan. We need to make it a habit of ours that we should be there right on time. I'm starting the class. Today is going to be our third lecture in the light of the new policy strategy that we are adopting, and we are making use of these lecture slides. This lecture is going to be on the other alleged sources, the other sources of Islamic learning which are claimed to be Islamic. Apart from Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith, there are some other sources of knowledge too, which many Muslims consider as part of sources of Islamic guidance. So you see, we want to know what Islam says about various expectations of understanding, of practice. And what we find is that, as we've already seen, the Quran, Sunnah are the core basic sources, and Hadith is an explanatory footnote source. But the story doesn't end there, unfortunately. There are some other sources which some Muslims claim are also Islamically valid. These sources include Imams, Ijma, Ijtihad, Qiyas. Now, let me say a few words about the importance of knowing Islamic sources of learning. It is important to know what an Islamic source of learning is and what is not. It is therefore important to be clear about one's opinion on whether these other sources are a part of Islamic guidance or not. Get the point? That is, I've talked about the Quran, I've talked about the Sunnah, I've talked about Hadith, that these are the sources from where we get our Islamic understanding, inspiration from. But there are Muslims who think that, quite apart from these three sources, there are some others too which give us an understanding of what Islam is. So obviously, we've got to see what those other sources are. The first of these four claimed sources is the source of Imam. We all know that Muslims are divided into two major sects. This is something that has been there since the very first century Hijrah of Muslim history. These two sects are acknowledged sects of Muslims. Sunnis and Shias, they define their understanding of Imam is different. The word Imam is used by both famous sects of Muslims, Sunnis and Shias, to convey an understanding which carries somewhat different meanings from each other. So obviously, whenever there is a difference of opinion, what are we going to do? We'll ask our father what our opinion is? No. we'll ask him. We'll ask our mother as well. But then ultimately what we will do is that we will find out what are the arguments, what is the claim, and what are the supporting evidences and arguments uh, that are uh, that are justifying those claims. So let's have a look at them. Sunnis interpretation. Sunnis mean by the word imam either the person who leads prayers or a scholar who has been responsible for founding a new important approach towards understanding Islam. So, you have Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim. It's not something that the Almighty Himself has decided to confer to certain individuals as a title. It's something which Muslims have themselves chosen to give to certain outstanding scholars. Others may not agree with it. So there's nothing significantly serious about this title of Imam as far as Sunnis are concerned. It's a title which honors the contribution of outstanding scholars. That's about it. However, when we look at the understanding of the expression term Imam from the Shia point of view, Shias, on the contrary, mean by Imam an individual who is chosen by God to lead Muslims both from the religious and worldly point of view. So, the understanding of Imam is extremely important from a Shia perspective, because what they say is that a person who is an Imam is somebody who has been chosen by God to lead Muslims both from the religious and worldly point of view. So what it means is that a person who was an Imam, according to this understanding, should have been the political leader, the head of the state of the Muslims. Nobody else can get that right. And the same person, the same Imam, was also in God's plan. According to what God decided, he was also supposed to lead Muslims in religion as well. So, Imams, according to the Shia understanding, are the people who have succeeded the Prophet, God's mercy be on him. Imam belongs to the family of Ali and Fatima radiyallahu anhuma. That is, according to the Shia understanding, these Imams have got to be from there, from that family. He cannot be from any other family. When you talk about Imams, there are some groups which are together called Imamis. That is, groups who believe in the understanding that God has chosen after the Prophet, God's mercy be on him, people who are expected to lead Muslims both in the political front as well as in the religious front. The most predominant, significant group from amongst the Imamis are 12ers, Ithna Ashari. In Arabic, Ithna is 2 and Ashara is 10. 2 plus 10 is 12. So these people who are Ithna Asharis are also now called in English, they have been translated as 12ers. Why? Because they believe that the total number of Imams that the Almighty decided to appoint is 12. About the 12th one, they believe that he disappeared in the 4th century Hijrah, and he will reappear close to the Judgment Day. That's what the understanding is. But there are other Imamis too, who are not 12ers, but they believe that the process of Imams coming to this world, one after the other, never stopped. Who are the Twelvers? The ones whom we normally call Shias, who are the biggest chunk of the Imami Muslims. However, within the superset of Imamis, there are smaller subsets which are not Twelvers, who believe that Imams still keep coming. Do you have any idea of Imamis who are not Shias? Anyone who knows about it? That there are Muslims who think that Imams are still coming, and when they are here, they have to lead Muslims. So, I'm asking this question. Anybody having any idea about an example of Imamis who are not Twelvers, who are not Ithna Ashari? No idea? Nobody raising hand? Nobody writing any notes? Hey, I thought you have some people belonging to that community in America. Okay, I'll tell you. Do you have any idea? No? The Imamis who are not Isna Ashari, the most prominent example is the example of Agha Khanis. Prince Karim Agha Khan, according to Agha Khanis, is, you know what number Imam is he? 49th. According to their understanding, the process of Imams coming to this world has never ever stopped. And today, they believe that their Imam is Prince Karim Agha Khan, who whatever he would tell them is going to be from God, because he has been picked, chosen by God. Right? So that's what the understanding is. Let's move on. Now, you know what? When we have a claim of that kind, we have no choice but to discuss. Do you agree? Do we agree?
Yes.
The reason is very simple. You know, we want to know what God expects from us. If somebody would tell us that God himself appointed certain Imams after the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, who were expected to be followed in religious matters and in political matters. That is, they were also to be our leaders, rulers. I mean, what choice do you have except to ask for arguments? You cannot force others to accept your point of view, nor can anybody else force you to accept their point of view. But then obviously, as civilized, sane, rational individuals, as Muslims, we've always got to discuss based on arguments. So, what are the arguments? You know what? There is only one way, we shall see it later in more detail. There is only one way, or did we discuss it in the last lecture? I think we did it, that Muslims can resolve their differences, or at least they can discuss it with each other. The history narrated, mentioned by Shias, Imamis, is different from the history which is presented by Sunnis. These are reports which have come down to us from individuals. Individuals can have their biased opinions while they are talking about history. We can never be sure. There is only one source, and only one, which is the ultimate authority in religion. And that source tells us that if there are religious differences amongst Muslims, those have to be sorted out in the light of that source. And that source is, I'm sure everybody would say the right word, that source is the Quran, right? So that we need to find out from the Quran as to whether this claim of the Imamis. Shias, Twelvers, Isnasharis, Awakhanis. Any other example? Burhanis, Burhanuddin. You know, remember, not long ago, this gentleman, he died, and this group is also there. I mean, there are quite a few of them in Karachi. Sayyidina Burhanuddin was the name. I'm sure they've appointed a new imam. Yeah. Okay. Now the important question is, you see, I as a Muslim, I'm telling you, I would not hesitate in accepting the concept of imam if it is correct. How would I know that it's correct? Well, I'll listen to the point of view of others and decide on the basis of the Quran. So let's have a look at the Quran. Shia Muslims, they present a Quranic verse, not one verse, many verses to support their point of view. And as I said, it's only through the Quran that we can come to some kind of a conclusion as to whether a certain claim is right or wrong. It's not a matter of fighting over these issues. It's not a debate where one person is a winner and the other is a loser. It's just a matter of trying to understand. And we understand in a decent, academic, civilized way. So, the Shia Muslims, they say, the Almighty says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul, obey God, obey the Messenger, wa ulil amri minkum, and those who are ulul amr amongst you. That's what they say. So what they're saying is that, look here, the Quran is not just requiring Muslims to obey God and the Messenger. The Quran is talking about a third source, which is ulul amri minkum. And the Shia Muslims, the Imami Muslims, claim that ulul amri minkum are their imams. So when the Quran is making this statement, you've got to follow it. So let's do it.
So who are ulul amr?
Well, that's what their claim is. It's a long debate. I am just introducing these young Muslims to the concept of discussion.
Yes.
We would not fight over these matters. We will understand the other point of view honestly with an open mind, and we will come up with our views and keep thinking about it. Because, you know, we follow religion because we want to understand what the truth is and we want to follow the truth. So, this is a Sunni response, one Sunni response to the Shia claim. I am not saying that the Shia claim is correct, nor am I saying that the Sunni claim is correct. I'm just introducing to you the debate and some part of the argument. I encourage you that you do your own research, find out what the two groups have to say, and make a point of view which makes more sense to you. At times we can disagree, at times we can make opinions which probably are not correct, probably are not very sound, but never mind. Let's be interested. Let's take our religion seriously. So the Sunnis say that, you know, the verse that you have quoted, immediately after the first part, which is, believers, obey God, obey the Messenger and those who are ulul amri minkum, ulul amr amongst you. Immediately following this statement, the Quran says, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ, then if you dispute in any matter, فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ, refer your dispute to God and His Messenger. Now what does it mean? What it means is that Sunni Muslims are saying that even if we accept for the sake of argument that ulul amri minkum are the imams that Shias 12 claim were appointed by God to be followed in both religious and political matters. These, the later part of the same verse is telling us very clearly that there can be a dispute, a disagreement between Muslims, ordinary Muslims, and those who are ulul amri minkum. Let's assume for the sake of argument that they are the imams. So how can then we claim that the imams are to be followed both in religious and political matters when there is a possibility of a dispute between Muslims, ordinary Muslims in them? An ordinary Muslim cannot dispute the Prophet, may God have mercy on him. He was the one who was to be followed under all circumstances. But in the case of ulul amri minkum, the Quran is clearly saying that there can be dispute with them. The Sunnis say that ulul amri minkum are your rulers. So you've got to follow God, you've got to follow the Messenger, and as a Muslim, you have also got to follow your rulers. You've also got to follow your system. You've got to follow the laws. Following traffic laws, therefore, according to this verse, is a religious requirement. Why? Because our God wants us not only to follow God and His Messenger, He also wants us to follow those who are in authority, the leaders, political leaders, our rulers. However, we can have disputes with our rulers. In that case, the dispute should be taken to a court of law which should decide in accordance with what God and His Messenger have given us. Right? So the argument goes on. I'm just presenting before you the line of argument taken by the two sects. I'm not saying that one of them is correct or the other is incorrect, and I'm not saying that this is the only argument. What I'm saying is that whenever there is a dispute, we have got to make sure that we are investigating and we are discussing it properly. Okay, where were we? We started this class by mentioning that there are 4 other sources of Islamic knowledge which some Muslims believe are relevant, quite apart from the Quran, the Sunnah and Hadith. Right?
So the page, it has not loaded for the class, I think.
Why?
So this happens sometimes.
Sometimes
I think if you go back up again and then come back down.
All right. Okay. That is the advantage of having you with me. Not as yet?
No, sir.
How?
Try going down, sir.
Okay. Not even now?
No, sir.
It's not coming?
It's loading now.
Okay.
But it's not loading. If you go down, I think just let me try.
This is what we call in our language dushman ki sazish. It's the enemy's conspiracy. No, not as yet?
No, sir.
Oh my goodness.
Let me ask the class if it's loading for others as well.
Damn serious conspiracy. No?
No, sir.
Are the slides loading for you? Anybody? Please give us a feedback. I'm asking the students. Okay. Yes, oh that's great. So you can see Ijma. Excellent.
It's just mine.
There's something wrong with yours. All right. No worries. Now, Ijma is the second of the claimed sources. Ijma or unanimity on a religious matter means that all scholars agree on a certain decision or opinion about the matter. See, so there's a matter, there's a religious understanding, and all scholars of a time, they come together and agree that this is the right religious point of view. This is what would be called ijma. Now there are Muslims who claim that ijma must be followed by all Muslims. Quite apart from the Quran, Sunnah and Hadith, we should also follow ijma. That's the understanding. But there are some very prominent Muslim scholars of the first few generations who have given their opinion that ijma is not possible. That all scholars agree on something. It's just not possible, except in the case of Quran and Sunnah, which we have seen that we are confident that the Quran is the same book which was presented by the Prophet, may God mercy be on him, as God's book, and Sunnah are the religious practices which are the very same rituals, practices which the Prophet himself did, and the entire Ummah has got it. Apart from these two sources, there is no third source on which there is ijma. That's what the understanding of some scholars is. And you know what? They are no ordinary scholars. Imam Shafi, I'm sure that you know the name. He is one of the four prominent imams of fiqh jurisprudence of the Sunni Muslims. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal likewise is another one of the four scholars who are the imams of school of jurisprudence. These years are the years of their birth and death. Hijrah. You know what Hijrah is? The Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, after announcing that he has started receiving Wahi, divine revelation, he spent 13 years in Mecca. And when he migrated from Mecca to Medina, that year is known as the beginning of the Hijrah. That is, Hijrah year, Hijrah calendar starts from there. So these years that are mentioned according to the Hijrah calendar. Imam Ibn Hazm, he was from Andalus. You know Andalus? Spain. There was a time when Muslims, they had invaded Spain, and they were the ones who were ruling over Spain. And we had a number of outstanding people over there. Imam Ibn Hazm is one of the scholars of Andalus, Spain. Imam Razi is yet another outstanding scholar, and I hope that some of you have heard the name of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. Well, what I'm saying is that these are some outstanding names, outstanding scholars of Muslims of the earlier times. All of them have had the opinion that ijma is not possible. Not possible. Except in the case of Quran and Sunnah. Imam Razi had a very interesting explanation to make. He said, ijma can only be possible if Muslim scholars from all over the world, they come together in one place, which was an impossibility 50, 60 years from now, because there were no adequate transportation, communication facilities. So how could everybody come together to agree on a certain point of view? So Imam Razi said that if by any stroke of luck, all Muslim scholars, now there's another problem at hand. What do you mean by all Muslim scholars? Who would define a scholar? Do we have a database of it? Can anybody tell us that in the 5th century Hijrah, there were a certain number of Muslim scholars? There is no research that does it. But okay, for the sake of argument, if all Muslim scholars of the entire world, from Indonesia to Morocco, Tunis, etc., and even the other parts of the world, they were to assemble, come together at one place, and then there's an announcement made that, do you agree with this point of view? Do you think that this is the right Islamic understanding? Imam Razi says that I will only agree if all of them say in one voice that yes. And then he says, I won't agree even then. Why? Because for one thing, I wouldn't be sure whether those who have shouted yes, they did it willingly. And secondly, who knows that in that big crowd of scholars, some of them didn't say yes. So how do we know? So in other words, while there are some Muslims who believe that quite apart from Quran, Sunnah, and the explanatory understanding of Hadith, Ijma is also binding for Muslims to follow. While there are others, some prominent scholars, who say that Ijma is a name, a title that has been given to opinions, even though there has been no Ijma on any opinion. There are only two examples of Ijma, the Quran and Sunnah, and nothing else. So that's the debate, about Ijma. Now let's move on to Ijtihad, the third of the sources that have been claimed to be Islamically important and valid. Now, before we end this class, we will tell them about our evil intentions of examining them, right? So that they are prepared. Maybe we'll give them an idea of what kind of exam it could be. We'll have a discussion, and they will just listen to what we are saying. So, Ijtihad, right? Are you with me? Ijtihad. Imams, Ijma, and now Ijtihad. The word Ijtihad comes from the same root letters which are the basic letters of jihad. Now don't tell me that you never heard of jihad. I will do jihad against you if you will say that. So I'm sure that everybody, not just Muslims, non-Muslims as well, also know jihad, even though they may pronounce it slightly differently. Jihad, So Ijtihad and jihad, they emerge from the same three letters. Ja, ha, da, juhud. Have you heard jiddo-juhud, sa'i-o-juhud, struggle? Ijtihad refers to the struggle. So the basic idea is that whether it's ijtihad or whether there is jihad, it's a struggle. Now, ijtihad refers to the struggle which a scholar undertakes to find the correct Islamic approach to a problem that has not been directly addressed in Quran, Sunnah, or Hadith. See, when you do not have a clear verdict on a certain issue in the Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith, then a scholar has to undertake the process of ijtihad. That struggle that the scholar would undertake will be called ijtihad. Now, we've already discussed the Quran and Sunnah are the original sources of knowledge in Islam. Hadith is the explanation of these two sources. The message of Islam is universal. We've talked about it in our last lecture. It's meant for all humans for all times to come. It was not meant for a particular era. It's meant for all times. Now, it's meant for all humans and for all times to come. New developments do take place in our world. You know why? Because this world is dynamic. We want to make our lives good, comfortable. We want to look for new ways of doing things effectively. Now, that has led humans to go for scientific and technological developments. In our present times, oh goodness me, there are so many new scientific inventions that have taken place in the area of communication, what has enabled us to talk to each other even though we are distanced by thousands of miles. When a new development takes place, a question sometimes arises: is it allowed? Can we use it? How can we use it? What is the proper understanding of Islam vis-a-vis this new development? So, whenever there is a new development that takes place, you have to answer this question. Is it allowed? So, very interesting example is the example of loudspeaker. You know, when it first came to the subcontinent, Muslim scholars in general said it cannot be allowed to enter the masjid. It's a dirty tool. It's not uh, fit enough, pure enough for a pure sacred place called masjid to accommodate it. That was an ijtihad done long time ago. And the latest ijtihad is that loudspeaker cannot be removed from masjid. It has become so indispensable. So in both cases, what has happened is that scholars have responded to a new development. Also know the field, the area where this new development has taken place. And the idea is to find out the correct approach towards a new development. Example, donating parts of our body to others. It has become a real possibility. You can donate your kidney, you can donate cornea of your eyes, you can do many other things, so many other parts of your body. And obviously, as medical science makes further progress, there would be a far greater number of limbs, parts of the body that one could donate to others. Obviously, the question arises, are we allowed? Can we do it? So, whatever answer is going to come up, it's going to be based on an effort of the Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah. Why? To find solutions to contemporary problems. You have a new problem and you look at the Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith to find out whether this new problem is similar to another problem that has already been treated in the Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith. When you will do it, you will do qiyas. You will draw analogies, right? To find solution. So qiyas is undertaken. Now, what is qiyas? Qiyas is one way of doing ijtihad. When you do ijtihad, probably the most natural, immediate way of doing it would be through qiyas. You have a new problem and you want to know whether it's allowed or not, what is its status in Islam, and you as a scholar would say that let's have a look at whether there is something similar that has already been dealt with in the Quran, Sunnah, Hadith. In other words, qiyas is a subset of ijtihad, right? So you do ijtihad and you make a superset ijtihad. Within the ijtihad activity, you have a subset which is qiyas. So some ijtihad is going to be done on the basis of qiyas. As I said, probably the first one would think as a scholar would be the possibility of qiyas. For example, the Quran prohibits khamr. It declares haram intoxicating drinks. Right? Now, today we know that there are many other intoxicants that are available which are not necessarily used as liquid. They're not drunk, but some of them are chewed, others are smelled, sniffed. There are still others which are injected into the body. There are still others which are attached to some part of your body and they do their job and so on. Right? Now, what is the Islamic ruling about these intoxicants? The scholar would say, if he's doing qiyas, that khamr, intoxicating drinks, have been declared haram, prohibited in Islam. Why? Because they intoxicate. They have an effect on your mind whereby, you are not in your senses to a greater or lesser degree. And the same happens when you are consuming one of these recently, whatever, discovered intoxicants. So, analogizing the treatment looks like a collection failure. What is this? What's going on?
Is the internet working?
Yeah, it's come back. It's come back. Good. Thank you. Sorry, we are back. We are back. Yeah, we are back. Thank you. Great. So, this way, Qiyas will help in finding a solution to, let me say, ijtihadi problem. The process of ijtihad is conducted in a way which is qiyas, right? However, there can be occasions when a scholar would do ijtihad even when there is no possibility for him to do qiyas, right? That will happen when there is no similar example found in the original sources to analogize with. To analogize with means to do qiyas with. Ijtihad has still got to be done. You get the point? There is a new development, like for instance, we've already mentioned the example of donating parts of human body. You cannot do qiyas. Why can you not do qiyas? Because there is no similar understanding that you can find in the Quran, Sunnah and Hadith. Donating parts of our body was not a possibility in those times. It's a new development. There's nothing even similar that you can find there. So, ijtihad done in such cases is going to be non-qiyasi ijtihad. It's going to be an ijtihad based not on qiyas but on some other methodology that will employ arguments that will be based not on analogy but on arguments that will employ the spirit and purpose behind Islamic teachings. Scholars would discuss, scholars would think, imagine what exactly is the spirit of religion. Does this new development violate the spirit of religion, or does it help in promoting the spirit of religion? And they will do their ijtihad, which is not going to be based on what's the right word? Qiyas.
Chaos.
Right? So it will be not based on qiyas, but it's going to be a non-qiyas ijtihad. Now, what is the example? The most prominent example these days is the example of donating parts of human body. Unlike in the case of intoxicating material, in case of donating parts of human body, there is no similar example in the original sources to analogize with. This is a difficult word. Analogize with. Scholars have disagreed in their ijtihad on what is the correct Islamic approach on this question. Scholars on both sides use arguments that are based on their understanding of the spirit of Islamic teachings. So, they say that that donating, gifting your limbs, parts of your body to somebody else is not allowed for such and such reasons, and those reasons have got to do with the spirit of the teachings of Islam. Others would say that it's a brilliant idea, and they will also give arguments. So let's see what they've got to say about it. Arguments against donating body parts. Those who don't agree with the idea, through their ijtihad, would say human body is a gift of God given to us in trust. It's an amanat. So, this body is not mine. My body is my creator, my God's ownership. He is the owner of this asset. I have been given this body in trust. So I cannot tamper with it. I cannot do anything against God's will. Because when you have been given something in trust, you've got to take care of it instead of uh, dealing with it in a manner that you are, you know, not treating it properly. You're damaging it, kind of spoiling it. That's what they say. The other argument that they present is that human body carries sanctity in Islam. When a Muslim dies, his body is washed. It goes through a process of bathing. Then you put two pieces of cloth to cover the body called kafan. Then you have a prayer called namaz-e-janaza. You see, we pray formally for the forgiveness of the departed soul. And then we bury the dead, the deceased person. They say that if you are going to allow the possibility of gifting parts of body of an individual who dies, because you know, in the case of gifting body parts, there is now a very popular understanding that when you die, you can leave a will that different parts of your body can be gifted to wherever they are needed. So what they say is that if this is going to happen, it's going to be against the sanctity of human body that we are expected to do to confer. If medical science makes more advances, progress, and there comes a time when you could gift almost everything, every part of your body, then what is going to be left for the body to be bathed? What is going to be left for giving kafan? And what part of the body are you going to conduct namaz-e-janaza for? And what is going to be buried? So all this process would actually be then not needed anymore. So that's what they say. So they believe that it's not allowed. There is the other point of view which says completely the opposite of it. It says that God wants us to give our wealth and what we have to others. You know, the wealth that we have earned, God wants us to part with it. And, it's something that needs to be distributed, if possible. And it's a great exercise. So there's nothing wrong with it. They say that a person dies and his wealth gets distributed. So the idea is that you distribute benefits, you distribute whatever good things you have to others. That's in the very spirit of the teachings of Islam. They also say, is it written there? They also say that in Islam, sometimes we are expected to sacrifice for others. If an individual sacrifices his life for the sake of others, their security, to provide them with comfort, takes risks, his life is endangered and sometimes is lost. And the person is given a very high status, so it's not considered to be something which is undesirable, that what God has given you, you use it for the benefit of others. So these are the kind of arguments that are presented by those people who are in favor of donating parts of the body to others. They also say that, even if some part of the body is left, You can still have janaza. It's an exaggerated understanding that by donating a few parts of your body, nothing will be left of it. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, and imagine an exaggerated situation where nothing is left. We do have a concept of ghaibana namaz-e-janaza, funeral prayer in absentia. So, that should not be a big deal. So what they say is that those who are criticizing the concept of donating parts of the body, they have very little to say about it. Now, the above discussion shows how ijtihad is done in two different situations. When there are similar issues solved in the original sources, you do qiyas, and when there are situations when simply the spirit of original sources is applied, you do non-qiyasi ijtihad. Conclusion. The discussion also shows that ijma, ijtihad and qiyas are not original sources of Islamic knowledge. They are simply ways of understanding what Islam expects from its followers on different occasions. There can be differences of opinion in the matters understood through ijma, ijtihad and qiyas. So, we started by saying that quite apart from Quran, Sunnah and Hadith, there are other sources as well, and we have discussed 4 of the more prominent sources that are claimed to be original. But what we have found, apart from one, Imams, where Shia Muslims strongly believe that it's an original source, but obviously there is a difference of opinion. Sunnis do not accept that point of view. The other 3 sources, ijma, qiyas and ijtihad, or let's say ijma, ijtihad and qiyas, these sources are not original sources of knowledge in Islam. They're just tools, ways of finding out answers to certain questions based on the Quran, Sunnah and Hadith. So, anything that you would like to ask, any comments that you want to make, let me ask, did you understand what we have learned today? Was it all okay, easy to grasp? Or was what I was saying going over your head as bouncers? So, kindly respond here, in the chat, So, was today's lecture easy? Did you get what I said? Are you understanding now through these slides a little more what we are trying to put across? A question that could probably come even before that is, are you listening to me? So, nothing is coming. Let's wait nervously. Someone, I'm sure is going to write something. Oh yes, Haya Sayyid says, yes. Thank you, Haya. So you're telling me that everything is in control. Nothing to worry about. Let's not be nervous. What I'm saying is well within your grasp. Is that what you're saying? Right. Nothing to worry about, sir. Oh, fine, that's great. Excellent. So let's start this discussion. We have to examine them. Said says, yes, it was clearly explained. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening carefully, and thank you very much for being a part of this exercise. But you know what? I think you would agree that unless we have a system of examining what is being taught, probably you will forget easily and you will not revise. Qasim Siddiq, thank you. It was easy, understood pretty much everything. That's great, excellent. If not in the next session, probably in the one subsequent to that, probably we'll announce something in the next session.
Yes, sir.
And we would like to give them some kind of an instrument for them to be examined. But let me make an appeal. Please do join us in that WhatsApp group.
Yes, sir.
How many of them are there right
Sir,
now?
I think I'll give them my email address, and they can individually, all the students can give me their numbers,
All right.
and I'll make a new WhatsApp group just for the students.
All right.
So whatever, if we have to announce anything,
Yeah,
we'll just
yeah.
leave it there.
But right now,
We have a
the
group
we
already,
have-
yes, sir. Or they can join that,
Ah,
and that's called Level 4 Discovering Islam.
right. Yeah, that's fine. That would be good. Okay.
So Shokib Saab, he made that group.
Right.
So I think we can ask him to add everybody there.
All right. I'm doing it on the Facebook as well, and there's somebody who's asked, I want to know, is there any site where a non-Muslim reading Quran can get help? You know, if you have a non-Muslim who is reading the Quran, we have a few sites. Nazlim Tiaz, can you give us the some WhatsApp numbers so that we could let you know about the site? That would be great. You know, they can be encouraged to attend these sessions as well. But please do give us a WhatsApp number so that we could inform you about the sites that we have which are offering help to non-Muslims to read the Quran. All right. So no questions as far as today's session was concerned? Somebody's asking, sorry, I missed some part of your answer. Is it all right to donate body parts? Okay, let's ask this question to our students. I have a question. Is it okay to donate body parts? What do you think? Any opinion? Is it okay? I did not answer this question clearly because my task was to let you know what exactly is ijtihad. And the question of donating body parts came as an example. But if you want to know my opinion, well, my opinion is most certainly I do agree with the second point of view that we can donate our body parts to others. We must consult the relevant specialist doctors as to how it could be done. Obviously, you're not encouraged to put your life in danger. So if you're donating some part of your body while you're still living, then be careful. Don't put your own ability to function in danger, in jeopardy. But if it's a question of donating some or many parts of your body after your death, there doesn't seem to be anything directly preventing you from doing it. That's what my understanding is. But what I have tried to emphasize in today's lecture is that these are matters where there are differences of opinion. Whenever there is a difference of opinion, you cannot say for sure that there is only one opinion that is ultimately correct and others are all rubbish. No. All that you can say is that I would prefer this point of view because the arguments supporting this particular view, to me, are making more sense. Right? The magical time has come. In our case, it's 10 p.m. In your case,
1 p.m. I think.
1 p.m. All right. So if you don't have any questions and you've already heard our appeal that please do join our WhatsApp group as well, even if you are a sleeping partner there, sleeping participant, dormant participant there. Uh, and we will come up with some kind of, some way of examining you in the next session. Thank you very much for being there. Take care of yourself. Have a nice week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How can I join? This is a late question by Qasim Siddiq.
I think it's best I give out my email address.
Please do.
They can.
Just a minute. Please do. Please write to Mr. Naif. He's just writing down his email address. Make note of it, and you can inform him. It's not coming here.
So I'm typing.
Yeah. That's the email address. Naif, Nayeef, Pasha, Pasha at gmail.com. You write to him and you join the WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. There you are. Done. Here as well. Yeah, Naif Abdurrahim, please come here.
Sir.
I have a particularly problematic